Some of you might remember the message I preached yesterday on lies, deception, revelation, and our eternal destiny. You know, the thought of what occurred in the garden just keeps repeating in my mind. I couldn't help but bring it back to you again and consider what really happened in the garden with Eve and in relation to lies and deception and our responsibility in this season particularly, or every season, but particularly this one, during this COVID-19. What is our responsibility as a Christian? Well, you know, we see there this serpent, really, and a serpent, well, out of a serpent's mouth comes poison. So it was the devil himself that appeared toward Eve, or appeared in front of Eve, and begins to ask questions. Has God said? Has God said? Now, what I want to bring to you here is our responsibility, because clearly Adam, as her husband, did not see his responsibility as protector and guardian and that man that would be not only a husband but a friend to Eve. Now you might think, well, he wasn't even there. Well, yes, he was. Indeed, not only did Eve partake of the fruit, whether it was an apple or not, a fruit, but she then hands it to her husband. Now have it think through that. What was he thinking? Honestly, this man who they'd never seen before, certainly wasn't God, starts to question the authority and the relationship of God. Be careful when people question your relationships. Be careful. Do they have a deceptive motive? You've got to be wise with things like that. Well, she not only ate, she gives it to her husband, and he eats. Later, of course, he blames the woman. My question, man, is where are you? Where are you, uncle, auntie, grandfather? Relationships are important. Cain, one of their children, kills Abel and has a conversation with God and arrogantly asks this question, am I my brother's keeper? Well, the immediate answer is yes. And let me tell you why. The Bible says in Philippians chapter 2, verse 4, let each of you look out not only for his own interests, but also the interests of others. We know the word says, Jesus said, love your neighbor as you love yourself. If you truly love your neighbor as you love yourself, you'd be looking out for them. You know, we used to have in Australia, and we may still have, I haven't seen it for a long time, Neighbourhood Watch. It was posted in signs all around the streets where if a thief, a burglar was coming into that street, they knew they didn't just have the house they were stealing from to worry about, but the neighbours were watching. I think it's a good thing. It was where the neighbour would see some, unusual activity and report it to the police or ring their neighbour and say, what's going on? Now, we might see ourselves as interfering, but if it's done in love, and this is what Adam should have done, out of love, a gracious heart, perhaps ask his wife, hey, listen, honey, what's this fellow all about? Don't you think we should ask God about this before we go and eat that fruit? The right question wasn't asked. And I think it's a good thing to step into our friend's life and ask a good question. It doesn't mean we have to be so much interfering or pushing or dominating our friends' lives. We don't want that. But what we do want is that person, those people that are closest to us, to watch out for our lives. And I'll tell you what, if you're worried about somebody being like that in your life, then my greatest concern is why? Why would you be concerned about such a thing? We are to let each one look out. Look out. I said in church yesterday that one of the greatest weapons against the enemy is the person standing right beside you. You see, they're going to look out for your back. They're going to be strong in times of need. And that's what a friend does. That's what we should be doing. I'd ask you to pray about that. Consider your friends and see whether or not, as a best friend, I've often heard this. Well, I've heard this, not often, but I've heard this. A best friend is someone who makes your life better or looks out for your best. That's a best friend. So why don't you be a best friend to people? Bless them in the name of the Lord. Show concern, but show it in grace, show it in mercy, and show it in love.